2023 was an insanely bullish year for Bitcoin, but what does 2024 have in store for us? Hello everyone, my name is J1 General and welcome back to another cryptocurrency video. If you like this type of content, guys, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as I will be posting more regularly throughout 2024 and into 2025. If you are a fan of cryptocurrency, and I assume you are because you are watching this video, I actually have a cryptocurrency shop where you can shop cryptocurrency products. Anything from a live ticker that can show the price of any cryptocurrency, to accessories, to coins, to clothes, to jewelry, all of that good stuff, guys. I'll put a link in the description down below so you can do some shopping. There's also a sale on right now, January sale, 5% off if you guys wanted to know that. But anyway, in today's video, we will be covering a summary of 2023, what I expected, what I didn't expect, the things I got right and the things I did not get right. And then we will then look into 2024 and try give a non-bias and the perspective of where I believe the market could go in the short term and where I believe the market could go in the long term, guys. So without further ado, let's begin. And let's begin with 2023. And wow, what an insanely bullish year for Bitcoin. I mean, you guys can see from here, from 2023 to 2024, Bitcoin was legitimately only up. Only up. And if we take from the 1st of January, which I believe price was around 16,250, where we started the year, if I can get this right here, if we can just measure and take it to essentially today. Today is the 1st of January, guys. Happy New Year. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope everyone has a blessed year and we all make some money in 2024, okay? Let's do this. So Bitcoin ended its price around 42.2k. So we started around 16.2 and we ended around 42.2. That means Bitcoin rose 158% in a single year. Now you might think, well, it's crypto, it's Bitcoin, 158% is nothing. You know, altcoins rose like 10x's and whatever. Altcoins done phenomenally well only in the last quarter of the year. But for Bitcoin in a pre-halving year, this is actually unheard of. This is actually unheard of, guys, and let me show you why. If we look at the returns table for 2023, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 green months in a Bitcoin pre-halving year. This has never ever happened in history. In fact, this has actually happened only once before, where Bitcoin has had 9 green months and 3 red months. And I believe it is in 2017, where we had 3 red months and 9 green months. The thing is, guys, with 2017, this was actually a post-halving year. So we had the halving in 2016, yeah, and then post-halving 2017 went manic. It actually went absolutely manic. But this was a post-halving year, which we'd like to think, or we ought to think, yeah, that's kind of normal, you know. In a post-halving year, Bitcoin outperforms. That's normal, right? But in 2023, a pre-halving year, we have had the same results in terms of monthly closes in a positive green way. Now, with that being said, guys, this is one of the things that I did not expect. And let me reassure you why. So if we take a look at all of the prior pre-halving years, so we have 2023, the prior pre-halving year was 2019. And in 2019, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had 6 green months and 6 red months. So it's even, yeah? 6 green, 6 red. We went up half the year, we went down half the year. And just to visualize this on the chart, let me just show you quickly so we can just have a more clear and concise look. You can see from 2019 to 2020, we went up for half the year and then we went down for half the year. So just to reiterate this, let me get the brush. We went up for half the year and then down for half the year. That's what happened in the prior pre-halving year. If we now go to 2015 entailed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had 7 green months and 5 red months. If we take a look at 2015 to 2016 on the chart, here we go. Let's get to 2015. So 2015 to 2016, guys, it was mostly up, if I'm being honest. It was mostly up. However, with that being said, you can see it was a scrappy year. You know, we started 2015 quite low. We went up high. We went back down. We went up again. And then we went back down. So traders just got wrecked because price just kept going up and down, up and down, up and down. It was only up until the last quarter or so Bitcoin went into this parabolic phase, which is kind of what we're doing right now. Actually, it looks kind of similar, if I'm being honest. But if we take a look at the monthly returns, 2015 had 7 green months and 5 red months. 2019 had 6 green months and 6 red months. So in a pre-halving year, my analytical hat told me, okay, in every pre-halving year, Bitcoin's returns generally are up. Yeah, we're generally positive in a pre-halving year. But with that being said, we should expect upside and we should expect downside for at least half the year. So half up, half down. We had 7 and 5 and then 6 and 6. So generally speaking, 6 months plus or minus 1 month will go up, and then 6 months minus 1 will be red. So that was my thesis going into the year. You know, we'd expect some sort of upside, and then we'd expect some sort of downside where both sides of the traders will get wrecked. But my God, that certainly did not happen in 2023, where we had 9 green months and 3 red months. These last 4 months, guys, I believe it took kind of everyone by surprise. Maybe only 1% kind of expected this, those technical professional traders. But I guarantee you, even those who are neutral within cryptocurrency did not expect this explosive move in Q4. Now let's go through 2023 as a whole, because I had quite some journey with Bitcoin in 2023. We had this major pump in January of 2023, and then I remember this clearly, where we had some sort of a banking crisis, yeah, which had a flash dump back down to 19k from around 25k. So we crashed from 25k to 19k. And I actually bought some Bitcoin around 19.5, 20k. We then went on further into April. And in April, we put in a new yearly high, which was around 31k. And for those that remember clearly, that is when the meme coin Pepe launched. And whenever a meme coin launches and it does a gazillion amount of X, you kind of have the fear that we're in some short-term downtrend, which is exactly what happened, and it panned out exactly like how I thought. And then we got to the summer, yeah, we got to the summer, the start of summer, Q3. We then put in another yearly high, and this is where I actually started to sell some of my Bitcoin that I bought around 19.5, 20k. I actually sold some Bitcoin around 30k because I saw, okay, we just peaked above the yearly high. However, we're stalling here. Can you see these wicks right here? These wicks right here, guys, they tell you one story and one story only. Whenever you see small candle bodies and large wicks to the upside, it means there is huge selling pressure. It means people are taking profits, which is exactly what I did. So I turned a small profit around. I didn't sell all my Bitcoin, but I sold the majority of my Bitcoin in this region right here. And then Bitcoin decided to take a dump over the summer and into the beginning of Q4. And I felt like a genius, because who wouldn't feel like a genius? You know, you bought a dip, you sold at yearly highs, and then Bitcoin took another dip. Now this dip, it wasn't really cryptocurrency related, if I'm being honest. I believe it's due to the stock market, the S&P 500. There is some sort of seasonality with regards to the S&P and Q3. In Q3 of a pre-election year, the S&P always tends to take a small correction, around 5%. And I know 5% is nothing in the crypto world, but within the S&P, 5% is quite a bit. With regards to cryptocurrency, it actually dipped quite a bit. If we actually take a look at how much it dipped by, so from the top to the bottom, it dipped around 20%, you see. So if the S&P dropped 20%, you're like, whoa, this is a strong bear market. But 20% dips in crypto is just normal, guys. I felt like a genius. Because Bitcoin dipped after I had sold the majority of my Bitcoin from buying it from the March crash. And then, my God, Bitcoin just took off from here. In Q4, it was just a huge rocket ship. And that is mostly due to the, I want to say, the spectacular Bitcoin spot ETF. Because with this spot ETF, guys, I want to be honest. Bitcoin is a risk on asset, just like the S&P. But the S&P is a lot more established. It's been around for a century or so. Yeah. But with this Bitcoin spot ETF, it brings institutions into the market. Yeah. And when you bring in large institutions, a lot of people around the world who have large amounts of cash that not only want to just invest in the S&P, they can invest into Bitcoin, and that increases exposure to cryptocurrency as a whole, into altcoins too. As we all know, ETH has an ETF filed, but that's been delayed until May of 2024. So it just brings in extra money into the space. Yeah, it's a big thing. It kind of de-risks Bitcoin in a way. I don't want to say it de-risks Bitcoin because that's false. Bitcoin will always be a risk on asset in my opinion. But with that being said, having a spot ETF, bringing institutions in, worldwide eyes are coming into the market, a lot of money's coming into the market. It will just de-risk the market slightly as everyone's aware about it now. But that is where 2023 came to an end. 2024 now. The big question mark around 2024. And where do I believe price will get to in 2024? I believe 2024 will be a very, very uncertain, volatile year, if I'm being honest. And I have short-term predictions and I have long-term predictions. Now, let's get into the short-term stuff. I believe that Bitcoin will hit that elusive 48k within Q1 of 2024. And the reason for this, and I said this in previous videos, is because of the two narratives. We have the spot ETF and we have the Bitcoin halving. And not only do we have those two narratives, I believe we will hit that 48k level because, and I know you guys have probably seen this before, the 48k level is that golden ratio, that 618 ratio, where Bitcoin likes to bounce off of before rejection, pulling back, and then attacking it again, passing through it again, and then entering the bull market. That's what's happened in every cycle before, guys. If we take a look at the 618 ratio back in the last cycle, you can see that Bitcoin touched the 618, got rejected, came back down, attacked it again, and then broke the bull market doors. The same thing happened in the cycle before that, guys. If we take a look right here, you can see that we touched the 618 golden ratio, had a dump, attempted, successfully reclaimed the 618 level, and then back into the bull market. So every cycle, guys, we touch that golden ratio, we touch that 618 Fibonacci level, then get rejected, and then upon rejection, Bitcoin calms down for a bit. Those who are long in the market, they get flushed out. The bears start to win for a couple of months before then Bitcoin regains momentum, jumps back up to the 618 ratio and breaks through it for the second time. And only once it backtests that golden ratio as support, we then go into a hefty bull market. That's just the way it is. Now, I expect 48k to get hit. I don't know when it will get hit. It might get hit in January or it might get hit in March leading up to the Bitcoin halving, as I've specifically said. Another thing I want you guys to be aware of is the short-term risk in Q1 as well. So in Q1, I believe we would hit that 48k, but at the same time, I do believe we can hit this 32k level right here, and let me explain why. If we open up the 100-week moving average, guys, the 100-week moving average, and I discussed this in prior videos, the 100-week moving average in December of the pre-halving year or January of the halving year, Bitcoin always likes to revisit this 100-week moving average. It's happened every time. So as we get deeper into the halving year, this 100-week moving average is going to start to curl up. Why? Because it is a lagging indicator. It is a moving average. It replaces the latest week price with the price that was 100 weeks ago. So if we go back 100 weeks, and let's say it's an estimated June 2022, Bitcoin's price was around, I don't know, 17k, but the price this week, the price would have ended around 43k. So 43k replaces that 17k, hence why this moving average will then start to curl up. And this was kind of a good drawing, to be fair. So I expect anytime soon in Q1, Bitcoin will retrace back to that 32k level, which would be confluent with this trend line, which was the yearly highs back in April and back in June, July, and it would be confluent with this 100-week moving average. Another thing I wanted to mention, guys, is interest rates. Yeah, interest rates is another thing, because interest rates will play a big part in 2024. If we take a look at Bitcoin and we look to overlay it with interest rates, set a new price scale for that, you can see that in last cycle, I actually made a video about this 2 videos ago, so I suggest you go watch it because I talked about interest rates in depth. If we take a look at the interest rates, we only have one data point because cryptocurrency has only been created since 2009, and Bitcoin has relatively lived a good monetary policy, if we're being honest with ourselves. You know, interest rates are relatively flat, and only last cycle Bitcoin experienced some sort of rate hike with regards to interest rates. So if we take a look at last cycle, you can see that Bitcoin actually peaked when the Fed cut for the first time. You can see right here, right in mid-2019, when the Fed cut for the first time, that is when the Bitcoin price peaked. And then when the Fed decided to fully cut rates from that 1.75% level all the way down to 0, that is when the Bitcoin price tanked. And I know a lot of people are going to say it's due to a black swan, it's due to the pandemic. I tend to ignore narratives, yeah, because a narrative is just a story that is followed by the technicals within the charts, yeah. So once the Fed decided to fully cut rates back down to 0%, that is when Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies crashed. Now, if we take a look at the cycle this time, we've currently been paused for quite a while now, ever since July of 2023. Just like how we was in last cycle, guys, where the interest rates were paused for quite some time. If we actually take a look at the CME tool, it shows the probabilities of when the Fed will rate hike or pause or actually decide to cut rates. In my last video, I discussed how you can't really use this as a reliable tool because it changes ever so often, and it actually has changed since my last video on interest rates. But taken from today, from the 1st of January 2024, interest rates are expected to be paused in the first FOMC meeting of 2024. Only until the 20th of March in 2024, it is highly probable that the Fed cuts rates for the first time this year. What I've noticed is that it is highly probable that the Fed raises rates again in May, which is kind of a shocker, because why would they cut rates just to re-raise the rates again? That's a tongue twister right there, re-raise the rates. But this is kind of shocking to me. I expect this to change sometime soon. But the first rate cut is expected to be in March of 2024, heavily favored at 73.5%. So if we draw a line around March 20th, which is coincidental because just a couple of weeks later, that's when the Bitcoin halving will be. And this is why I think the narrative of the Bitcoin halving might spark that 48k. Because last cycle, Bitcoin topped when the Fed cut rates for the first time. And if the Fed is cutting rates for the first time at the end of March right here, if we go along and then the Fed cuts for the first time, we could actually expect the price of Bitcoin to reach that 48k or even higher towards that 50k region. I believe 50k would hold very strong resistance, because not only is it past that golden ratio of the 618, but 50k is a psychological number, so that will prove heavy resistance. However, I believe Bitcoin could peak in Q1. If we go back to the Bitcoin monthly returns, we can see the average returns for Bitcoin in every month so far. And you can see that in Q1, the average is favorable for Bitcoin. Yeah, we have January at an average of 3.4%, February over 10, same as March over 10, April around 15. Yeah, so Q1 plus April, it is a favorable time for Bitcoin, which could be why I believe Bitcoin will top around at 48 to 50k within Q1 slash April. Now, Q2 slash Q3 is where there is big question marks, because May, okay, it's a decent time, but it's only 7%. June, it's at 0.25%. July, 7%, nearly 8%. August, 2.69%. And September, actually minus 4.78%. September is the only month on average where Bitcoin experiences negative returns. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. You can see from May to September, the numbers are just nowhere near in favor for a price increase for Bitcoin in comparison to Q1 slash April. Yeah. And this is where I believe the Fed will then start to cut rates. People believe that the Fed cutting rates is very bullish for the price action of risk on assets, and I heavily disagree. In the long term, medium to long term, as in a year later, I agree it's very bullish for price action. Yeah, but when it comes to cutting rates, guys, when it comes to cutting rates, it means that the economy is broken. It means there's something wrong within the economy and the Fed needs to fix it ASAP, which is why they're cutting rates. You can see in the last cycle, when the Fed cut rates for the first time, Bitcoin peaked, and then we went on to have a downtrend for 6 months. Yeah, and then when the Fed decided to pause again, that is when Bitcoin had a rally. And then once the Fed cut for the final time, that is when the major dump happened. So we could expect something similar in 2024, where the Fed cuts rates in March, and then as we go down, they then pause and then give one final cut in Q3, which will then cause Bitcoin to crash. Now, it is very open much in the air where this word recession, yeah, this word recession, will it happen? Will it not happen? Will we get a soft landing? Will we get a hard landing? And I believe that it depends on unemployment figures. If unemployment figures look to skyrocket, we will have a hard landing, yeah, because as unemployment rate goes up, the economy's not going to have it. They don't want homeless people, so they will then look to pump and print money out of thin air again, and then look to get the economy kick-started. But if the unemployment rate stays low and inflation comes back down slowly, that is what you call a soft landing. Now, what do I think what would happen to price if a soft landing were to occur? If a soft landing were to occur, I wouldn't expect price to go below 25k. Yeah, that's just my base thesis. I do expect we will revisit that 32k, but if we get a recession, there's two types of recessions. We'll get a soft landing or a hard landing. If we get a soft landing, I believe Bitcoin will revisit that 25k. However, if we get a hard landing, guys, I believe that we could essentially revisit this 20k level right here. This 20k level right here. I believe Bitcoin will revisit the 20k level if we get a hard landing. Last cycle we got a hard landing and Bitcoin dropped 60%, yeah, in just a matter of days. If we get a hard landing, you should expect the same 50-60% drop. We could get back down to that 20k level. Do I believe Bitcoin will put in a lower low? It's very unlikely, because in last cycle Bitcoin put in a double bottom. It didn't put in a new low. So if we do get a hard landing, I do believe that Bitcoin will drop significantly, but I don't think we will take out these lows that we did in the back end of 2022 and the start of 2023. So that takes us into Q2/Q3 of 2024. Now into Q4 of 2024, this is where the election happens. Yeah, the election. Who's going to win the presidency of the United States of America? And you can see that Q4 often returns bullish numbers. You can see in October 22.9%, hence the name Uptober. Yeah, that's where the name comes from. In November, 46.81% on average, and December 5% on average. Normally December is a great time where investors like to take profits due to tax reasons, tax filings, etc. But October and November are very bullish months for Bitcoin. So I expect Q4 to be a good month overall for cryptocurrency, and that is when we will then be going into 2025, which is the post-halving year. So Q1, I expect us to hit that elusive 48k golden ratio level, 48k to 50k. 50k will hold some major resistance. This could be due to the Bitcoin spot ETF or the Bitcoin halving narrative. More so leaning towards the Bitcoin halving narrative because that is when rate cuts are first expected to be cut, and last cycle that's where Bitcoin topped out. So Q1 will be good. I do, however, think we will revisit that 100-week moving average. If I just pull this up again, I do believe we will hit this 100-week moving average. It could be in Q1 or in Q2 where we do revisit that 32k level. If I just draw that right here, where we'll be retesting the highs of 2023. That takes us into Q2 and Q3 of 2024, where I believe some volatility will kick in with regards to interest rates and the tight monetary policy starting to kick in, and all the economies around the world are starting to feel the effects of the tightening of the macroeconomic conditions. And that is where the golden question will come up. Do we get a soft landing or do we get a hard landing? If we get a soft landing, expect 25k. If we get a hard landing, expect 20k. Yeah, and that is all I have to say, guys. And then in the end of 2024, I think will be bullish returns. That will then kickstart the next bull market. We will then attack that 618 golden ratio again. We will clear through it, and in 2025 will be the golden bull. That is just my prediction, guys. If you agree with me, let me know in the comment section down below. If you don't agree with me, let me know why. I'm always open to everyone's point of view. To be stubborn in markets is a very bad thing. It's always good to be open-minded, take everyone's opinions and then fold it to make your own. If you agree with me, let me know. If you don't, let me know. But if you like this video, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, it's been your boy, J1 General. Thank you.